And with me in the studio are two wonderful people who are going to provide commentary for the upcoming ceremony. Let me first of all talk to Monique Wells, who's the founder of Entrée to Black Paris. What does this moment mean for someone like yourself, Monique?
It is quite special for me, given that for the past 20 some odd years, I have, and my husband, I'm co-founder of Entrée to Black Paris, we have brought the story of African Americans and the larger African diaspora to tourists and travelers who visit Paris. And Josephine is part of one of our most popular walks, and we have two additional walks that feature her solely. They're named after her. So this is very, very, very special for me. I just want to say a couple of things about the comments that I've heard prior to me coming onto camera. First of all, Josephine died in Paris. She was buried in Monaco, but she died here. She died during her last performance run in 1975. She died after having given a fantastic performance. She had performed multiple times, and she suffered a cerebral vascular accident in her bed and was taken to Salpêtrière Hospital in the 13th, and that's where she died. And her funeral was held here in the Madeleine Church. The other thing I want to say is that Josephine, although she's the most famous woman to speak at the March on Washington, she was not the only woman to speak.
And that's important to remind our viewers, of course. Curtis Young is a historian and a professor of literature at Essex Business School here in Paris. Why did it take France so long to honour Josephine Baker?
Oh my goodness, there's so many questions around that. One, she's an American originally, and the Pantheon represents something very particular in the French experience. And a lot of people argue that she didn't quite fit there, despite the role that she played in France. But interestingly enough, the philosopher Regis Debray, who was one of the early people who suggested this idea that she become, comment dire, Pantheonisée. How would we say that in English? Pantheon.
I say pantheonized. It's not a real word.
It's a very unique French scenario, isn't it? Immortalised.
Immortalised. I like that.
That's
yeah.
great.
Immortalised. Okay. So he wrote an article that appeared in Le Monde in 2013, where he wrote about her as the siren of the street, and how she could thaw the urns and the statues of France, how she could put, and these words are really, they work well together, turbulence and sunshine in this cold crypt, seeing flesh and science, the whimsical and the torturous, and he mentions in it Orpheus and Jean Moulin at the same time. And it made me think of this Dionysian Apollo kind of, I don't want to say dichotomy, but
the two sides.
The two sides. These two in Greek mythology, there were sons of Zeus. Apollo is the god of the sun, rational thinker, represents order, appeals to logic, purity, prudence, these kinds of things. On the other hand, Dionysus is the god of wine and dance and irrationality and chaos, and appeals to emotions and instincts. And she kind of manifests these two sides in one, as does this country.
She indeed, and she was an extraordinary figure who had obviously many flaws, but just led this amazing life, which is no doubt a reflection of her high intelligence.